Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming, and we go to the gallery. What could possibly be a new series examining the art in various books that I have played a part in. You know, as a developer of RPGs, sometimes we are called upon to provide art notes to the artists to create the illustrations that go into our RPGs. And sometimes the most striking thing about an RPG is the art. It can trigger the imagination, make you think of the campaigns you want to run, the stories you want to tell, the characters you want to play. And I thought I wanted to start doing a series on art in RPGs because while I am no artist, I am a massive fan of the art in so many of the RPGs I've worked on. And when talking about the They Came From line, as we are in this video, we're going to do They Came From the RPG Anthology. What I think is what a wonderful job that Larry Blamire, Mark Kelly, Derwin Talon, all of the various artists we've hired to work on They Came From have performed. They really did do superb work. And Larry Blamire was the first artist we hired to work on They Came From with Beneath the Sea. And that was in large part because he directed The Trail of the Screaming Forehead, Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, and I had him writing all the fiction of They Came From Beneath the Sea. And knowing he was an artist, I also asked, would you care to paint some pieces for our full pages and our cover? Which is how we ended up with Larry Blamire, not only as a writer, but an artist on that book. When it came to They Came From the RPG Anthology, which feels in a lot of way like a massive, heavy capstone, both to the current edition of They Came From, but in a way a sort of secret new edition of They Came From. Not officially by any means, but it does have the StoryPath Ultra system in it. We wanted to use Larry's talents again. His skill as an artist is, well, it's frankly stunning, as I will demonstrate for you soon. And I'm not here to critique or to condemn or rate a painting out of 10. What I'm intending on doing is showing you the artwork from this book, talking a little about it, what I might have advised in my art notes, what I might have passed on, so Larry could work from some kind of basis, and see what he came up with, see whether his vision matched mine. So I'm going to move over to this side, so that there's plenty of room for me to put the art up on this side of the screen. Of course, it's going to be horribly compressed. So if you want to see the actual art, do pick up a copy of the book. In fact, the reason I'm doing RPG Anthology is because the PDF will be out to backers of the book on BackerKit. If you go over to BackerKit, you'll be able to pick up a copy of the PDF or a hard copy. And this is a book that contains 11 games, 11 cinematic genres in which you can play your games of They Came From. And this is what their full-page pieces look like. They always strive to emulate movie posters. This is the theme with They Came From. So we start with the cover, which of course is a wild assemblage of images. We have the title spread across the top in swooping font. They Came From the RPG Anthology. In a lot of ways similar to how the font goes in Beneath the Sea, as I recall. They Came From Beneath the Sea is a little more booming at the bottom, but I remember, of course, it has that green flavour to it. So that feels like it's a callback in a way. And our characters on the front of this book are confusing, shall we say. We have a great spotted alien in the background. We have a lady in a gown with a shotgun and a jaunty top hat just in front of it. Her hand is on the shoulder of a gunslinger who could be Lee Van Cleef. There is some kind of dwarf or giant in a ruddy complexion, beard, and holding some kind of tankard. And before him, we have a lady in a rather spicy looking black number, who doesn't leave much to be, well, the imagination, shall we say. Behind even them, we have a reel, a film reel, running down the side of the image, which demonstrates some of the full pages that you will find further in the book, because They Came From the RPG Anthology has 11 different chapters in. Now, the reason these characters are present on the cover is because when the book was first put together, it only had 5 chapters in. They came from Cowboy's Gulch, hence the gunslinger. They came from Bridgeton Rectory, hence the lady in the gown and the top hat. They came from the interstellar starship, hence the alien. They came from the Bard's Quill, hence the man with the tankard. And they came from the mean streets, hence the lady in black. So she is suitably noir. So this is to demonstrate there are many games you can play with this book. And what's more, you can cross it all over. That's right, and they came from the RPG Anthology. Any archetype character can be taken, any character archetype, I should say, can be taken from any chapter and put in any other chapter. You could easily play your gunslinger in They Came from Bridgeton Rectory. You could take your femme fatale from They Came from the Mean Streets and place her in They Came from the Bard's Quill if you really wanted. As I say, at this time there were 5. There were 5 different genres, and this expanded because during the course of the Kickstarter, we funded additional chapters and put it to the polls, basically allowed the backers of the campaign on Kickstarter to vote for which chapters they wanted to see added to the game. So there was no sure thing. We didn't know what was coming up yet. So until the campaign was over, we only had art that was demonstrative of the chapters that were already included. Now, my instructions for this cover were basically, let me just get them for you, that we would need an assembly of characters demonstrating each of the genres as if posed heroically, running alongside a cine reel showing images from the rest of the book. So this is pretty much exactly what I was looking for. Now, the next chapters, and I will skip ahead slightly and go on to They Came from Cowboy's Gulch. Okay, so they came from Cowboy's Gulch and the Guns of Tucumcari. So They Came from Cowboy's Gulch. Now, this was one that we weren't sure of at first. I didn't send in art notes for this. We just wanted a Western-esque movie poster in the Larry Blamire style. And what I was keen on, I think the only instruction I gave is I wanted to see a broad array of characters, because it's quite often in Westerns, in cowboy films, everyone looks like Clint Eastwood or wants to look like Clint Eastwood or John Wayne. And what we got was this lineup of rogues, this rogues gallery, a magnificent... well, not quite 12. A magnificent 13. How about that? That's a nice number. To demonstrate on Larry's behalf the range of characters one could play in a cowboy feature. They are supposed to look like rogues. Each one of them has a secret. Each one of them is, one of the Guns of Tucumcari, which is in the title. And we thought, do we need a hanging in the foreground? Does this need to be in a saloon? But in the end, my feeling was when people in the 19th century were posing for a photo, for example, you would get these lineups where people aren't showing a great deal of emotion, where people aren't demonstrating much of themselves. They are just there showing themselves to the viewer. And so it both reflected the history and also the cinematic genre I was looking for. And I love the range of colours in this. Again, I'm no artist, so I can't exactly comment to a fine degree, but I love the fact that you can see a lot of what's going on here. By that I mean there is a character in the back, your Lee Van Cleef character, who has a hand on a character in front. That character has a shotgun across her lap. We have the guy in the dead centre who has a pistol with a frankly obnoxiously long barrel, Joker style. I am very happy with the Guns of Tucumcari and have to thank Larry very much for putting that one together. Next up we have They Came from the Mean Streets. They Came from the Mean Streets with Murder Served Hot. This one is designed to, well, resemble the mystery, the confusion, the 100 bullets style of noir. I'm a big fan of Brian Azzarello, and I think that is in my instruction. I like the Azzarello style of things like 100 bullets, of his various noir comic work. And that's what I wanted. Lots of crooked Dutch angles, which are present here. Again, a vast array of characters in various colourful outfits and poses. Every single one of them could be dangerous. Our main character here is walking out with the bag full of money because everyone else is busy attacking, murdering each other by the looks of it, accusing each other, which is very in keeping with the noir. Again, everyone has a mystery. My favourite is the one who is on the floor, who appears to have been decapitated. There is a splat of blood in the frame before him. And I think there is something deeply cinematic about Murder Served Hot, our They Came from the Mean Streets piece. Again, could not be happier with that. So, we then move on to Bridgeton Rectory. They came from Bridgeton Rectory, 2 sisters and 1 brother. 2 sisters and 1 brother. The name, of course, much like Murder Served Hot, they both came from the actual plays I ran for Red Moon Role-Playing for these respective chapters. And 2 sisters and 1 brother. What we wanted to demonstrate here was a little bit of Bridgerton, a little bit of Downton Abbey, a little bit of the Duelists. I remember specifically requesting Duelist-like art, and well, we definitely have it. There is a duel going on there. And while I'm not a fan necessarily of Bridgerton, it isn't really my kind of cup of tea. I do love the colourblind nature of their casting, and gender-blind at times. It makes it quite experimental. It makes it quite exciting to see who they've hired for what role, how they're going to perform it. And we can see demonstrated in 2 sisters and 1 brother, our poster for They Came from Bridgeton Rectory, a lady of black complexion, brown skin, who is in the foreground looking utterly tired with the fact that these 2 duelists are clearly fighting for her affection. I don't think she really wants either of them. And there is a crowd of assembled peers in the background watching, probably, oh, yet another bloody duel. Yes, this was, again, exactly what I was after. Now, what I particularly like about this one, and again, speaking on colour, is there is a real vividness, if that's a word, vividity to the surcoat, the jacket of the duelist in blue. But I also really like this sort of, I guess it's a bit unfinished nature of her gown and her umbrella. Or her parasol, the orange and green blurred together. It just is so rich in colour, very vibrant, very happy with that too. I'm going to be very happy with all of them. I wouldn't be showing them off if I wasn't. And now we move on to They Came from the Interstellar Starship with Cosmic Ho! Mission of exploration becomes a journey into terror. Well, this is a Larry Blamire classic. Larry has been painting all kinds of bizarre aliens, monsters, adventurers, and the like for many, many years. And when we first worked with him on They Came from Beneath the Sea, we actually went through his back catalogue of paintings and saw what we could purchase to put in Beneath the Sea. This wasn't one of them, but this is very much of that type. There is a delightful ignorance to the characters in the foreground and the way that they are pointing their guns dramatically. Maybe there is a threat that is just out of our sight as the viewers, while there is this monocular, bi-mouthed, bi-moored creature that seems to be about to eat one of their fellow astronauts. Luckily, it is being shot by a laser, but at least the initial impression is it isn't achieving much. What we were looking for here was a real Flash Gordon feel. Somewhere between Flash Gordon, Lost in Space, Buck Rogers, lots of jumpsuits, very colourful aliens. And this is exactly on the money. It's exactly what we were looking for. So thank you very much, Larry, for our Cosmic Ho piece for They Came from the Interstellar Starship. We move on to They Came from the Bard's Quill. and the Party Boys of Paisley, the long-suppressed play finally released. I said I wanted a mess of Shakespeare on this poster, and by God have we got it. This is a lot of Shakespeare bundled onto one poster. My favourite thing about the Party Boys of Paisley, our They Came from the Bard's Quill poster, is it feels unlike any of the other pieces in this book. The art style is dreamlike, and again, I feel that's quite Shakespearean in its way. It isn't just Midsummer Night's Dream that has that quality to it. There's obviously a heightened reality to a lot of Shakespeare. And yes, so much of what's going on, there's a bloodiness to it. There is a murk, a mystery, a almost King in Yellow element to it that I really love. You see in the front, we have Julius Caesar being stabbed. We have a queen, maybe Lady Macbeth there. We've, of course, got our witches around their cauldron. We have various spooks and faces, fairies in the hedge. There is, again, a lot going on. Of course, we've got our battlefield in the background. Let's not forget our historic plays of Shakespeare. And in the very bottom left, just ahead of the Blamire signature, the autograph, as it were, to sign it off as one of his own pieces, we do have Romeo and Juliet there. And there's Ophelia, of course, in the bottom right, lounging around underneath the water. So, yeah, again, this is just about perfect. I would love it, by the way, if you in the comments could comment to say which ones you particularly like. What is your favourite They Came from the RPG Anthology piece? I would love to hear. So now we move on to the additional chapters, and this is where I started giving a little more note in terms of what I was looking for in the art. So we start with They Came from the Billiard Room with the Candlestick, with the movie Who, What, Where, When, How. Now, the instruction that I gave as an art note on this one was quite simply a long shadow cast over a body shape, the shadow holding a gleaming, bloodied candlestick. Question marks abound. Well, Larry definitely hit that brief, because we do have a long shadow, a bloody candlestick, and the candles are still lit. That's some good candle. Question marks abound as well. I was split on this one, how I wanted it done. It was either going to be a very clear murder scene and lean into the classic murder mystery, or it was going to get a little more clue and it would just be a big question mark and, maybe lots of different words for murder scattered around, perhaps, or just a chalk outline for a dead body with a question mark in the middle and some blood dripping off. The thing is, if you go a little too stylish, you kind of lose the ham nature of They Came From. And I think the blood is necessary here. You could easily see this being used for a They Came From Beyond the Grave piece, and that isn't a bad thing whatsoever. I like that there's some versatility to it. It makes me think of murder mysteries. I love also that you can see the shadow of the blood drips running down, and good God, they are running fast to be dripping that frequently. They must have been... I don't know which part of the victim was caved in, because there doesn't seem to be any blood on his head. I hope this candlestick wasn't rammed up his arse, but all three. No wonder he's fallen over. But I am very pleased. This was the chapter I wrote for the book. And when I come to think of it, while I've written an awful lot for They Came From, I've never fully written a They Came From source book, I suppose. And in this case, They Came From the Billiard Room with a Candlestick is, well, mine in full. So blame me if you don't like it. Then we have They Came From the High Octane Apocalypse in the form of Death Race to the End of the World. The Chris Jones classic returns to cinemas this summer. Well, clearly, we were looking to go with something Mad Max-like here. And my instruction was This is where we go Fury Road, some colossal war rig, Mad Max style, flanked by smaller varieties if there's space, racing toward the viewer. A solitary alarm man in the foreground. I think he's been incinerated based on what I can see here. Solitary alarm man in the foreground, frozen in panic as the war rig bears down. These vehicles and their riders need the appearance of being cobbled together with the kinds of scrap metals apparently common in the post-apocalypse. Lots of leather, makeup, gimp masks, and chainsaws, and flamethrowers. A bizarre bones and fetish gear wearing driver laughing maniacally behind the bone steering wheel as it charges towards the viewer. Well, I tell you what, if Larry clung on to anything there, it was the bizarre bones and fetish gear wearing driver laughing maniacally, because he's right there, you can see him. There is nothing quite as satisfying when you're a developer than seeing your work get turned into art. And maybe it's silly, maybe it's a little childish, but there's something I deeply enjoy about seeing the words that I've come up with. In this case, it's just an instruction, but turned into something artistic, something beautiful. And yeah, this is beautiful. It's horrific as well, don't get me wrong, but this really does set the tone for what the high-octane apocalypse is going to be. So again, a lovely work by Larry Blamire, who I'm sure will take commissions if you get in touch with him. Next, we have They Came From Under the Skull and Crossbones with the Scallywags of Albatross Island, a Michele Masala motion picture. This is one where the instruction doesn't match the art. I know, shocking. I said, a handsome young gentleman with a dash of blonde hair guards his damsel who stands precariously at the end of the plank, stretching from the side of a pirate ship. He has a cutlass out and is prepared to duel a horde of colourful pirates advancing on them. The ship is on a rough sea and we can see sharks swimming around in the water. Give the pirate crew some diversity. Well, we don't get to see the handsome Errol Flynn at the end of the plank in this case, but we definitely get to see the colourful pirate crew, which very much reminds me of a kind of almost Asterix-like assemblage of rogues and vagabonds who are all kind of stacked on top of each other, goading this poor bastard who's been walked off the edge into the sea. So this one, in terms of my art direction, is by no means identical. And this is something, when you're a developer of an RPG, you do kind of have to not just deal with, but also learn to enjoy. There is a great aspect of working in, I guess, the creative arts, I suppose, of being surprised. I love being surprised. I don't want people to do exactly what I'm asking them to. If people did exactly like I asked them, I might as well be doing it myself. And that's the same whether I'm running a game, whether I'm developing a book for writers, or whether I'm giving art direction. And this piece comes off far more colourfully than I was expecting. The people on it seem far more, well, they're jovial, but also menacing. There's a joviality, but there is also a menace to them as well. Yeah, very, very pleased here. And, I mean, Larry definitely hit it out the park. It's what the kind of thing I was hoping for, not what I was envisioning, which is even better. So next up, this was an interesting one because we did not expect it. At the very end, very, very end of They Came From the RPG Anthology's Kickstarter campaign, a super backer swooped in and pledged the high amount, quite frankly, the premium amount, to request an added chapter. Now, they were free to request pretty much anything we wanted, barring ludicrous, stuff we might have rejected. And they went for one that had fallen short on the polls, which was They Came From the Steel Dragon Tournament. And so here we have, now, as of time of broadcast, the title on this might have changed. When I first saw it, it was Fisting Furiously. Now, I can't imagine why it would change. But I wanted to go for Fisting Furiously or Furious Fisting, one or the other. I'm easy, And I wanted it. Here's my instruction, which is actually pretty extended. A neon Gothic city, rain pouring down, a circle of baying crowd members with dollar bills and betting slips in their hands. Well, I don't see any of that, Larry. In the middle of them all is a martial arts street fighting contest between a Bruce Lee-style fighter, there we go, and a Blanka-style Beastman. If you're familiar with your Street Fighter, you'll know what's going on. Ideally, the cover needs to display an action shot rather than the two posed, ready to fight. Maybe Bruce Lee is about to deliver a flying kick or punch, or the Beastman has them up by the throat and is about to claw at the abdomen. Lightning strike in the background, maybe? Oh, and we could do the symbol of the Steel Dragon fighting tournament somewhere, perhaps. An Asian dragon coiled around a fist. There needs to be a fluidity or action feel to this one. Well, again, this is one where the instructions, the notes, were not followed exactly. But again, I guess I refer to the final line here. There needs to be a fluidity or action feel to this one. This feels like action. I think now in retrospect, and this is why it's wonderful to work with professional artists who have a good idea for this kind of thing, that you can make a scene far too busy. My art notes, my greatest flaw as a developer, I'm sure I have many, but my greatest flaw as someone delivering art notes is I can give too much instruction. I can detail the background, say what needs to be hanging in the foreground, that this person needs this many buttons on their jacket or something like that. And ultimately, that's unnecessary. All it really needs to do is convey a message. And in this case, it is conveying the message of fight. And we have here our Ryu and Blanka-esque character. Yes, he isn't bright green, but I didn't ask for him to be bright green, in fairness. He does have the glowing red eyes of a beast man, though. And it looks like a fight. It looks like one fist is about to connect with the abdomen, if it hasn't already, and another fist is about to come down and sock Ryu in the jaw. Yeah. This was a surprise and a pleasant one. So, again, lovely work. Now we draw in on our close. We have They Came From Beneath Capes and Cowls, with Dawn of the Vengeance League. I think initially, just speaking on the title, I came up with a much longer one, something like Dawn of the Day of the Vengeance League, Arrival, something or other, you know. Just looking at this piece right now. I can't believe I didn't even notice that. Okay. So, Dawn of the Vengeance League, then. So my instructions on this one were superhero comic book movie with a 1960s vibe. I'm thinking the 1960s Adam West Batman shows, lots of vivid colours and costumes that may not be all that awesome as a Justice League equivalent. Are outside a bank with lots of fluttering notes, with the superheroes poised to strike, levitating, a car with a rocket launcher about to throw a batarang, that kind of thing. As the bank robbers emerge from the bank and see them in shock, they need to be led by a colourful-looking villain, Riddler style. Well, the fact that I'm laughing means it's done its job. I would love for you in the comments to guess what these superheroes' names actually are. And indeed, the villain in the foreground with the nut, I guess, or screw, on his hood would imply that he is called something like Screwman or Nutman. But then he has a pair of what looks like trainers' sneakers to you Americans on his shoulders. So the sneaky screw, I don't know. You tell me. Give me your thoughts. And then, of course, we have the superheroes. And the one I was really laughing at was the guy with the skyscraper on his head. Yeah, that's good. That's lovely stuff. That is exactly what I wanted. If a piece of art makes me laugh, fresh like this, I can't complain about it, can I? And I love the look of joy on the Electro Boy's body. I mean, that's how I'm imagining Electro Boy, because he has the face of someone who is older than his body implies, maybe. I don't know. There's something deeply unsettling about Electro Boy, but I love Skyscraper Head over there. You can come up with better names in the comments, and I would love to hear them. And so, yes, our final one now. Our final one. They came from the meticulously planned bank job. You won't believe what they'd do for $1 million. The blowjob. Yeah, well, you know. An M.K. Anderson moving picture. And, yes. Well, I didn't invent... I didn't invent the blowjob, of course. That is within the chapter itself. There you go. There's a reason to buy it. But my instructions on this one, I think there's that Peter Lorre on one of those cards. Heist gangster movie, found out playing cards with the faces of different heist artists spread across them. We should have an Italian gangster with a cigar. Let's see if we can find him. Yes, okay. A femme fatale type. Okay. An old mastermind planner. Yep. A charming, handsome lead. Yep, okay. This should be somewhere between Ocean's 11 and The Magnificent Seven in the way it presents its cast as an ensemble. Around the playing card, stacks of cash and a couple of gold bars. This is dead on. Exactly what I was looking for. This is exactly it, isn't it? And I think that is Peter Lorre over on the right there. So there's an air of the Lady Killers to this as well, which, of course, I'm speaking of the original and the Coen Brothers movie, though I don't think there's such a thing as a bad Coen Brothers movie. It's by far not their best. Well, you know, you can never really criticize the blowjob, can you? Well, they came from a meticulously planned bank job. A wonderful piece of work there by Larry Blamire. Thank you very much. Now, we have other art. Of course, this is the thing. You don't necessarily think of it when you're reading these things, but RPGs contain a lot of artwork. And in a lot of ways, that's where the greatest amount of money will sometimes go. Artists, you pay them quite a lot for a full-page piece, more often than not anyway. I can't speak to every company's rates. And they really help sell your game. So I'm incredibly grateful whenever I see a full pager and it just blows me away, wins me over, and I have to say that the work in They Came from the RPG Anthology has done exactly that. So if you've enjoyed this video, please let me know, because we can do this with other books I've developed and get our thoughts on the full pages in those. Let me know which one is your favourite, which one of these movies you would see, and of course, crucially, what are the names of the superheroes and villain in They Came from Under Beneath Capes and Cowls with the Dawn of the Vengeance League. But thank you so much for watching. You can, of course, buy They Came from the RPG Anthology. It is linked right below, so pick up a copy for yourself. And until next time, thank you very much for watching.